You are listening to the 5 Squared Podcast, the podcast where we bring you tips for your business and your life. Our goal is to leave you smarter with ideas, wisdom, tools, and entertained. The 5 Squared Podcast is produced weekly for your enrichment. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow me on Twitter at 5 Squared and Facebook. All the links are in the show notes. Now let's get started with your host, business consultant, executive coach, and founder of 5 Squared, Tim Fives.
Welcome back, podcast. Booyah, 5 Squared, Tim Fives at the helm here. What's up, baby? All right, so last week we talked about having an open mind. It was a great podcast. I thought it was fantastic. But today we're going to talk about the next in my series of Habit of Successful People. And what might that be, you ask? Well, I'm going to tell you. We're going to talk about kind of two things, and they're tightly related. Last week, when we just recap for those of you who didn't get to last week's yet, we talked about having an open mind and the ability to have the humility to grow and learn and to continue to learn, which is fantastic. All right, because that's an attribute you got to have to be successful. But this is now you're adding the supercharger, right? You're coming up. I got a 5.0 Mustang, and I'm dropping in a supercharger on it, and now she's going to be blown at 1,000 horsepower. I don't know. Take your metaphor. Take your pick. But I want to talk about passion and persistence today, because these two traits, no successful person has gotten to where they are without those two things. You look at the titans of industry, and they're all passionate about what they do. Period. You look at that, and I'll give you the story from my own from the past couple months. We're launching. I guess I'll let people in. We're launching some web-based services coming in June. I'm very excited about that, but excitement isn't quite the word, because it is exciting. I'm not going to lie about it. But, it's going through the past month or so, figuring out what we really want to be, what the business model for 5 Squared is. We've iterated. We've had great clients. We're having success. And my whole thought process, how do I scale this? What's scale? How do I add the most value to humanity in the broadest reach in the shortest amount of time? And that's just something that's been eating me, because I'm like, there's got to be a better way of doing this. Unfortunately, I think, I found it. And I'm not going to give you the details on that right now, but I think that what we're doing is, I won't say it's revolutionary. It's revolutionary for me, the way I was thinking. I had to have the open mind to be like, well, yeah, let's go and give that a go. Because when that works, that's going to set us up to be scalable. And it's going to set us up to hire. And one of the things I was noticing when I was doing my reflection the other morning is that I sat down and I said, wow, I'm really jazzed up about this. I'm really juiced about this. And all of a sudden the passion came back, right? And it's not that I was ever gone, because I love what I do, but it was kind of like, damn, this is it. This is it. We're doubling down, right? We're going to spend some money. We're going to get this thing done, and it's going to kick ass. And so that's the level of passion, and is why I'm so excited about these podcasts now. Not that I wasn't before, but I think these are just fantastic resources for people to understand what the traits of successful people are and how you can manifest these in your daily lives. So when I sit there and I'm thinking, who's passionate about what they do? Well, let's go back through history, right? Like, look at any of the software titans today. They're all very jazzed about the company. Bezos with Amazon, right? I get that right? Yeah. And, we're sitting there looking at that. You had Steve Jobs, super passionate about design, and just, that's what he lived and breathed, right? So, when we look at this, we have to couple it with persistence, because persistence is the other side of that supercharger, right? So you have, I like to think of things in terms of fuel, right? So if persistence is the air being blown in, or passion is the air being blown in, then persistence is the fuel, right? And you get the perfect optimum mixture for combustion. And so when I'm thinking about this, you know, how many people that we know that are successful, and I know a lot, have gone through a dip where they were sitting in the pit of despair thinking, we're done. But I'm gonna go one more time. I'm gonna give it one more shot. And they broke through. Versus the person that said, well, I didn't do it. You know, I failed, I'm done. And they pick up and they go home when they were one step away from success. And that's where persistence just is vital in anything you're doing, launching a new product, launching a new business, starting a new club, I don't know, whatever it is, and getting these things off the ground. So when we talk about this, you know, we have to have that level of persistence. And I like to look at this year's, the last year's Super Bowl, or this year's Super Bowl, I guess, I don't know which one, the one we just had with New England coming back from being down 21, 28 points, whatever it was, and beating the Falcons. I think it was the Falcons. I even forget already. See? Losers. But anyway, you know, they persisted. They could have folded up their tent and said, man, no one's ever come back from this being down this far at halftime, you know, and they could have been dejected. And an interesting thing happened when you watch that game. They just didn't give up. That's the only difference. All right, so Atlanta goes from playing to win to playing not to lose, and I hate when I see teams do that. It drives me insane. Now you can say, well, New England made better adjustments at the half. And apparently they did because they won. But they persisted, and that was the big difference. And obviously they had the passion, right? They were not lacking for passion of the game. But they certainly showed us that persistence is what carried them over the finish line to win. And I think that's a fantastic metaphor for all of us. If you look at where you are in your life, and if you're not where you want to be, and you're down, and you think you're out, don't give up. All right, there's many resources to help you get back on your feet and get going again, and drive that persistence. But giving up is probably failure, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if you think about it, I look at failure as you don't learn anything. So, but persistence, when you're on that cutting edge, and you're ready for that breakthrough, that's to me a really sad thing and a pathetic thing to witness, where people just like, I'm done, I don't got anything else. You know, we watched a movie today. I forget the name of it. It'll come to me in a minute. I'll come back to that. But the other thing that I wanted to go through today is to talk about that level of persistence in some of the examples that I've seen in the clients we have. You know, we have a gentleman that's been in business for several years, and he's struggled to grow it, and he's like, it's now or never. And so we're growing it. We've doubled his revenue for that. But again, he had to dig down and find that persistence to say, let me give it another go. Let me get over the hump on this. And he already had the passion, so we didn't have to work on that as much. We fueled it. We gave him a great vision and some good outcomes that he wants to achieve. So, you know, we reinvigorated that passion, and then that kind of had a feedback on the persistence. He said, all right, let's do this. Let's get going. But those two things working together are huge. And one of the things I wanted to bring up was the second Batman movie, because there's a great line in that movie, and I'm a big movie buff. But when Harvey Dent's sitting there, and you know, the Joker's wreaking havoc, and he said, you know, the night is darkest right before the sun comes up, and that's a great metaphor for life, because that's when you have to have the persistence to push through. Is when you're out of money, you got one, maybe two shots left, and you're like, let me just throw the football to the end zone. We've only got can only take 2 snaps. I'm not giving up. So again, if you look through history, those are the things that are fundamental. Two of the fundamental things that every successful business leader has had. I just want to recap from last week and this week. 1 is an open mind to learn, and then 2 and 3 are passion and persistence. So, you know, I'm going to talk about these more, but I just wanted to get that out there for you. And hope you all have a great day, and talk to all of you soon.